So it looks like I just hit live, so we'll be on live.
Yeah, we're trying to figure it out. This is going to be an interesting slate. I mean, we're going to talk a little NBA, a little bit of real quick MLB stuff, but we got the NBA slate coming up, and we just got some news that George Hill is now inactive. We have news now that, we got it earlier today that Russell Westbrook is upgraded to questionable, which is a virtual lock of him playing unless he really, really, really can't do something pregame, which I watched his last pregame routine, what they showed of it, and it looked like he was moving pretty good. So I'm ready for Westbrook to play.
So we're going to project Westbrook as like a full go, right?
I think that we kind of have to. I don't think this is the kind of spot where, maybe if there's a point differential at some time, he'd be the first to go or something like that. But it's hard to see that happening, really. I more see it this is kind of must-win territory for him and his legacy. The team, there's a lot going on here. If he was really discounted, which he's pretty discounted, I'm flirting with the idea of playing him. I think he makes a lot of sense.
So, but he's not like a lock, is what you're saying?
No. He wouldn't be a lock. I mean, it's more that the Harden was going to be the lock, and now it seems like people are going to probably go more Giannis, which would make a lot of sense actually. Can you play two of them? You can, but I don't think Harden would make as much sense with Westbrook back, obviously. And also, he's been struggling with that defense even without Westbrook, and took overtime to get him there. So I don't know. For me personally, I'm trying to figure that part out right now. Do you want to go? I mean, we can do it however you want because I know you got other stuff going on too. But I can quickly go down game by game just what I'm sort of going to do if you would like.
All right, go for it.
All right, let me try and get this tweeted out to some of our people, and I'm going to start talking about it. I want to wait also a minute just while we get the uploads from the updates from the George Hill being out, because I do think that makes some difference. But we've seen this story before with them, and it doesn't always guarantee that someone else is going to get all that much extra work. But there certainly opens up the possibility on a slate that's very short on value. So I'm going to share this real quick. Sheets, have you built a mock lineup? Have you just kind of ask you real quick, what you did in your first initial thought today?
My first initial thought was presuming that Westbrook was out. I literally didn't even know Westbrook was in until 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. That news came out on a different show.
I have all kinds of Daniel House and all kinds of Covington.
Well, there's nothing wrong with those guys.
Oh, well then. I
mean, it doesn't mean that they're probably not quite as strong as they were, but they're still not bad plays by any means. I actually like them quite a bit. The problem I'm trying to find out now is, and now I've got them coming to upload. But yeah, so you had those guys obviously, which make a lot of sense.
Well, let's if you want to talk about the full build, the full slate. I mean, the lock is freaking. The two locks, honestly, are Carmelo and what's his face and CJ McCollum, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. So let's talk then.
I mean,
how are they not going to shoot 8 million shots?
Well, I think Nurkic would be the priority for me.
Wow. Okay.
Just because he's the guy you can actually run an offense through along with McCollum. I like McCollum. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's a must play on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I definitely, he's going to be so popular. I'm going to take a quick look right now. I don't actually have him as being he's going to be crazy high owned, and of course he's a strong play, but we've got some other guys here that we can do some things. What's up, Brooklyn? Good to see you. Sorry we're a little late here. It's Harden's birthday. I don't think it matters today because if there's not a motivation for that guy, but I do appreciate knowing that stuff, guys. Thanks for saying what's up. Please give us the like and thumbs up and all that stuff, and ask QQs anytime you want. We're trying to get through this first. I'm going to try and get through this first game because it is going to be a little different now without George Hill.
How is that? What do we do about that?
So that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. It's going to depend on, first of all, who's starting. I don't even have a projection system that doesn't have George Hill in it yet, because every projection system in the industry seems to have decided to at the same time just crap out. So, which kills anything that I've got too, because it's sort of combining these. It's just taking so long to get this one.
The one other one that I have that I look at still has George Hill in. So,
well, he's not in.
I know that. I know that.
Oh yeah. I just want to make that part. Wanted to make that part really clear, real quick. All right, let's get over to this because this is going to be important, and I'm just going to take a look and see if I can sort of figure out my own projections because we are not getting the sites to cooperate.
Well, so did they announce the starting lineup?
No, I'm trying to find that out. I have what you've got right now. I've got no anybody with projections, and here we go. Okay, I still don't think that they're updated correctly. Yeah, I don't know. I think Frank Mason is going to play a few minutes. I don't know that it's going to actually change all that much, to be honest with you. Personally, that's where I'm at. But does maybe Connaughton become a better play than Alex Caruso? Probably. That's probably, I guess, where we would be at. Actually, I think Connaughton is a really strong play here. And he's cheap, which I like, I like that. We're going to, talking about value, and then you get into the Anthony Simons, he probably has a higher ceiling than these other guys do, like the Carusos, the Connaughtons, the other guys we're spending down for. But there's also a path where he really doesn't do much at all, don't you think?
Anthony Simons has been – see, the funny thing is Anthony Simons has been chalked before in these situations where he's done nothing. I mean, there was one time where he started, played all the minutes, including overtime, and got like 5X or something like that.
Right.
I know we like him or whatever it is. I was imagining that you'd be just locking in your boy, freaking Gary Trent. I didn't.
This is not a benefit to Gary Trent anyway.
Well, I mean,
Lillard being out doesn't help him. His minutes are there. Lillard creates his shots for him. He doesn't shoot it's not like he creates much. You know what I mean? Simons is the opposite. He won't do anything at all the other way.
I just really don't see. I mean, I just remember. Don't you remember these games? I just don't see a world where McCollum isn't a lock. But you could talk me off it. I mean,
I'll talk you off it with one thing. The guard position is very, very strong.
Starting with him, no. I'm sorry. I must have just really just approached the whole slate wrong. I literally.
No, I don't think this is wrong. I think this is you're doing. What I think people are going to do.
I guess so.
And I personally am trying to find a way around this. So I've got a build right now with like Giannis, and one thing that's great about Connaughton is you can use him as that small forward spot. I think the guys you want to talk about the first game real quick, because this is what we're going to have to deal with. The guys to prioritize for me, I do still think that we're playing Markelle Fultz.
I'll tell you who I think we're still playing, by the way.
Terrence Ross?
No, I think we're still playing Vooch.
Okay.
I mean, again, we did it. I did it last game. The same thing. He looked completely impossible to get in at 9,200, and he was 6% owned and scored 60 fantasy points. It's the one guy that Milwaukee's just kind of letting do what they want.
And it is a must-win. I'm behind it. I'm struggling because I like Westbrook too. He's 9,700. I can't.
Westbrook. This is ridiculous. Okay.
Right.
Oh, it's ridiculous how unprepared I am. You told me that Westbrook was ruled in early. I didn't even notice it. We were doing the baseball, I guess, and
yeah.
So I gotta.
Yeah. So here we go. Like Brooklyn does a question. Okay, so what do I think of a low-owned pivot to DiVincenzo when everyone's going to go to Pat Connaughton? I like Connaughton much better than I like DiVincenzo. I'm not sure exactly that he's going to be low-owned. I think they both are going to have some ownership. Don't trust any ownerships you're reading right now. They're just wrong.
No, definitely not.
Right now, they're way off. What I do think is trying to get a low-owned Westbrook in a must-win is kind of an interesting spot for me. I'm having a hard time just letting that go. Especially at what I think is going to be like fractional ownership on a 3-game slate. That's what's going to happen. And I think that taking the Lakers blowout route is tough because Portland doesn't have anything else to play for after, so they're going to play all their guys as much as they can. I'm struggling with it. It's a tough slate. It's tougher than I thought it was. You can go to Augustine. I think that's okay. I think it's a better play on DraftKings and FanDuel because you get the bonus for threes and. But in general, Fultz is just clearly a much better play, like with the way they're running things. The way it went the first couple games when Augustine got hot was different. There just seemed like in most situations to get Fultz the run, but they're playing them together too. I just feel like Fultz is more active. I think they're both fine. I think the low-owned Augustine is definitely a good pivot. But I prefer Fultz. And I talk about prioritizing. And then the other guy, I really don't see why we're not playing Giannis today. I think we kind of have to play him. That's my take. I think you have to play him. I think Eric Bledsoe is a bump up, especially on DraftKings, and I think we have to play Giannis.
The other thing about Giannis, what makes Giannis a really, really strong play, and we talked about this all year long, is that even if like the game blows out, like they're not really projecting him at 36, 38 minutes. You know what I mean? They're already projecting him at a very moderate minutes amount. So it's one of those things where if the game does blow out, it's probably because he scored 45 fantasy points in the first half anyway. You know, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but you get the idea. And that's why he's. I don't know. I think they're both pretty safe. Isn't Harden pretty safe? Maybe not.
No. With Westbrook back, Harden was barely paying. Harden was. This was a borderline play before Westbrook was back. It's like, you certainly can't look at it as a better play now, but I do think it's a play. You know what I mean? So like where I'm running into issues like with builds right now, and I don't love. Like I do think that Gallinari's had like the floor of all floor games and is going to probably bounce back strong, but I don't love him. I'm running into like weird 2v2 swaps with him and Vooch or Westbrook and Carmelo. Or you could argue that he and Carmelo. I do think Eric Gordon is much more out of play, although like maybe as a tournament sleeper you can argue for it, but it's not where I'm going to go. Brook Lopez, I'm actually going to play more Whiteside now instead of Lopez, only because I'm going to have 3 other players from Milwaukee on most of my teams.
That's interesting.
So that's that route. But if I'm going to do that, logically, shouldn't I then be playing potentially Vooch and Fultz? Maybe that's the answer.
What do you think of like we tried last time? What do you think of a low-owned Middleton on DraftKings?
I think it's interesting. I do. This doesn't really like. There's no natural boost to him here, but like it is an interesting just as a play. And then trying to figure out what to do with the last game. We'll get over to FanDuel in a minute because it's a struggle on these DraftKings builds because some of the guys I want to get in. And the prioritization, like, you've got to imagine Orlando, no matter how much they're down, that Vooch just is out there for 40 minutes, right? We know Middleton's overpriced. That's the entire reason you play him. Like, you play him so you can try and get 50 out of a guy who's small forward eligible and you can outscore. But it's, obviously, we're not talking about as a core play, Middleton. He's a great play on FanDuel, but he's not as good a play on DraftKings. Man, I'm getting into some weird spots. Then you get McCollum is obviously a better play. If people aren't going to play Vooch again, maybe that's just the answer. You know what I mean? Maybe that's just as simple as it gets. Terrence Ross and Vooch or something like that, or really you might get a stack of this game. Like the problem is then you're just counting on the Lakers to blow out Portland, and even if they do, somebody from Portland's going to get there.
Now, the other thing I would like to say is that you want to say low owned or whatever it is, but it's possible, that Portland game doesn't blow out.
I agree. Totally agree. And I think if that happens, see, to me, I feel like the better chance of that happening is through Nurkic than it is through, I guess it could be McCollum. It's hard. Yeah, McCollum actually would make a lot of sense. I mean, the Lakers are better defensively inside, but it's just because Nurkic, I feel like, is a better, like a guy who's going to go out there and get you 50 to 60 fantasy points. I'd rather play him in some ways. And I feel like McCollum could have a good game running the show, but not like doing it. And I don't like the Melo thing. Like I feel weird about that one. I think I probably should because he'll probably be shooting a lot. But to be honest, like Lillard has played pretty like trying to set these guys up. I don't personally love the Melo thing, but I'm okay. Like I'm struggling, man. I'm struggling with my DraftKings build, and I'm getting excited to talk about FanDuel because this is a tough build. And there's a lot too many questions. I think maybe the answer is play Westbrook on FanDuel. Yeah.
Okay.
Because Fultz is a little bit more expensive. Simons lets you pay down. Okay. So let's switch over to the FanDuel conversation really, really quick because I think that actually has become a little more interesting. What you do at small forward next to Giannis is going to determine a lot, and what you do at point guard is going to determine a lot. I think that you're fading Harden for sure. The question is, are you playing Westbrook? And I think the answer is probably yes. The only problem is, you might get a little bit of ownership, which is annoying on FanDuel. You won't on DraftKings, but so if I play Westbrook, what does that leave out for me? Does that mean I have to drop out from Nurkic probably or Anthony Davis? I think that's the answer, Anthony Davis. So do I really?
Well, I'll tell you, what I was getting at also, I mean, again, three games. I mean, you don't want to go too crazy, but you are looking for a low owned idea, and I'm I don't know if that game doesn't blow out, are we gonna like avoid like a situation where you maybe get LeBron really really low owned?
Um, I don't like the LeBron thing. I prefer Davis, but
Okay.
again, you know my sort of stance with LeBron is that I like him in the must-win spots. You know what I mean? The back up against the wall, like we need to show up here today, which is why.
Right. That makes sense.
But I don't really love him. And this is Westbrook thing is interesting because I like Covington better than I like Jeff Green, but they're not that far apart, and
I think you have to play them both if you don't play Davis. There's no other options, right?
Jimmy Clark.
Okay.
I mean, it's just he's playing minutes, and honestly, this game has turned into a little bit of a stacky situation for me, so I don't really mind it. Yeah, and I hate that I'm not playing these low-owned OKC guys, but I just don't know where to get them. Well, I guess what we can do is drop down at small forward. No, you really can't. I mean, James Ennis is high risk. I think Daniel House is fine. Fournier is probably the better preferred play, but then you've got Carmelo, too. It's a really, really...
What do you think about Trent on FanDuel?
Not for me. I'd rather play Connaughton or Dort. At cheap. Well, actually, over Dort, I would consider him. Yeah, power forward is pretty nasty if you don't play Davis. So
Right.
a lot at that position, and I'm using it to pay up at center. Yeah, I think this is what you got to do here. Okay, I've got it.
Oh, tell me, because I need to know what to do.
It's just kind of not the most exciting build. I think you know what the answer is. I think the answer is I'm not playing the 888 today. I'm not.
That could be first. That could be top level, whatever you.
I just think that when I feel this unsure, sometimes it pays off. Do I think Simon's sorry, George? Did they slide Trent in? I honestly think that the people who play Gary Trent tonight, if it happens to work out, congratulations. I don't see him as getting a boost here. Yeah, technically there are more shots to go around. Gary Trent is not the guy they're going to try and get those shots for. So I'm not as high on Gary Trent. Look, he's fine. You can use him. I just would rather take a shot with these other guys. And it's not like he and Simons are the same play. You know what I mean? You have a shooting guard versus point guard, and you have Simons is the minimum on FanDuel. So that's where I'm at. Hazonia is too far of a reach for me, but I could see it happening. But it's way too far of a reach for me on this slate. I don't think you can do it. You can. I just don't think I'm going to. Let's put it that way. Hey, what's up, John? How you doing, man? All right, we're trying to finish our builds here. Sorry, it's not the most entertaining of shows, but it is a little bit tricky to try and come up with on the fly. And I think that I just really need to figure out the first game, right? Like that's the big issue, though.
You have to go back to. You probably do have to go back to Fultz, right? You don't have to. I mean, obviously.
On FanDuel?
Oh, you're back on FanDuel. Oh, okay, sorry.
On FanDuel,
I actually don't mind Fultz on FanDuel.
I mean, Gary Trent might be better on Like, he's 4K. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous for the minutes.
That's what I figured. I mean.
But Connaughton probably has more upside. Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with all those guys. I mean, they're all so similar. I think Connaughton has the most upside, but I think that they're all fine. And you could also just jump right up and just take Terrence Ross or Dennis Schroeder to totally good plays. In fact, that might actually be the best answer of them all. Just jump up and play Schroeder along on the other side. Especially, if Westbrook plays, Schroeder is actually a much, much even better play.
Because he gets from the second unit, right?
Yeah, and also no, they're different. It's still the same. He still plays that second unit anyway. But Houston plays just so much faster when Westbrook is in the game. So John Diaz says he'd rather have SGO over massive CJ Chalk. I think that's a really interesting play. I don't think it's going to work out most of the time, but when it does, you're getting huge leverage. So I'm into it. I'm totally into that kind of idea. And maybe not paying all the way down at your shooting guard spot on FanDuel is the other answer, if there is one. The Vooch thing is interesting, man. What's that?
Funny.
What's that?
If there is-
What happened?
No, that was very funny.
I don't know what happened.
No, nothing. Don't worry about it. No, what you said.
Oh, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear myself, I guess. I mean, I'm struggling. These builds are a little tough. I actually kind of like my FanDuel build a little bit now. I think it's close enough to different. I think that that's where they'll play Vooch. They won't play him on DraftKings. So I'm going to not play him on FanDuel.
No, that's what I was figuring. I mean, I figure on center on FanDuel, you could go back to PJ Tucker.
I think that's interesting. Or even Whiteside if you want. But I think the answer is Nurkic. I mean, I'm not playing hard today, but I'm not playing
You know who else you could play? And this is like really unexciting, but you could try Steven Adams at low ownership.
That's interesting. But I think that I'd rather stick with just playing. I just like Nurk. Actually, I just like it. I like those two guys too much at the top, I guess is the answer.
Okay.
And I feel like Steven Adams could get played out of this game like he did last time. Look, the less they've played him, the more they've won, as I kept saying. So maybe you're right about Billy Donovan making great adjustments because he definitely did it this time. So Gary Clark is where we get into an issue. I think that he's the other value guy here. Now I've got a game stack of the first game, which was not what I initially intended to do. Boy, oh boy.
But that's okay. I mean,
game stack of the first game with a one-off Alex Caruso in the waiting in the wings.
well, you could always change that, you know?
I can't change my game stack.
No, we could change the Alex Caruso if that's the one that pops.
Yeah, but I don't think yeah. Well, let's see. If you play, I mean,
you could use Simon instead. I mean, there's stuff you could do. I mean,
it's must-win time here for Orlando. Like, I can't play Simons instead of Caruso. Like, there's too big a price gap. So I'm in a little bit of a struggle here because I really like this build. I think it's going to be low owned enough to be able to make a little bit of a run. You know what, though? Maybe Sheets nailed it when he said the first thing, and maybe the guy who's the worst play is the best play in this spot for Orlando.
No, you pair the two worst plays on DraftKings. You pair Vooch and Middleton.
That's right. I think that's the answer. I love it. I think you can play. By the way, you can absolutely play Middleton with Giannis. Okay, let's try this. I'm into this sort of now, especially now that I don't have to worry about it being in the 888.
That's really funny.
It makes me feel a little bit more free just to do some other stuff with it. I need just a guy at 3,800 or less, Sheets, and we really don't have one, do we? I don't think we do. I'm going to take a look at the updated projections. Jamie, what's up, buddy? You win anything else this week? Come on, man. I'm getting killed. I'm getting so unlucky. Send me some of the love from you. I just keep getting the worst luck. Feel like they try to pop the Magic, then if they get blown out. What does that mean? Oh, if they both pop, the Magic get blown out. Yeah, of course they're getting blown out probably. What does that mean, though? It doesn't matter. Orlando's the last game of the year. What do they have to play for? What the hell? You think they're just going to like sit everybody down in the second quarter? No, they're going to play at least 3 quarters, 3.5, even if they're down by 30. No, they are. You know, I mean, what do you think is going to happen in this spot? This is like a blowout-free zone. You get the, and also like it's not like Orlando. It's not like we've been watching, you know, this dominant Milwaukee team that's been just taking it to them. Like these games have been pretty tight. You know, all within 15 points. That's, I know it doesn't sound like much, but this game's within 15 points. You could definitely get a ceiling game from these guys. Yeah, Middleton is a little bit harder for me to get to. It's hard. It's even because I want to play Bledsoe, but I don't play Bledsoe. Ugh. Bledsoe's the best. Bledsoe is a good play, though.
Is Bledsoe a good play?
Yeah, on DraftKings especially. So is AD a must play? No, he's not. But he's a good play. How about that? I don't know. Like if you're prioritizing the spend ups now, while everybody's going to pivot naturally to AD, and that makes a lot of sense. I think there's a lot to be said. I mean, they won so easily last time. Anthony Davis played 18 minutes. Now, if he plays like 30 minutes, he's probably going to kill it. So yes, he's obviously a great play, but is he get? Maybe you can get other routes. Maybe there's other routes you can go. That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. Okay, so if we do fade, yeah, you know what? I'm not playing the big one. Let's fade Giannis. Let's play Middleton. Let's have some fun, Sheets. All right, we're gonna play Middleton. This is crazy. Stacking the game without Giannis. Okay. Well, this doesn't seem like the wisest thing I've ever done in my life, but this is, you know what? This is tournaments. This is what you do. So I've got that entire game.
But I mean, what you could do, like I'm just thinking of stuff like that. Like I think that you could play CJ McCollum and those Blazers guys without running it back with the Lakers.
Yeah, I've actually got it here. Actually, you know what? This is making me kind of want to play the big one because I like this lineup a lot. But you know what? It's probably a little chalky. Yeah. What'd you say, Sheets?
No, which is the one we're going to play in the big one that's too chalky.
There's no Giannis, and it's got Vooch. So I'm at least somewhat different. But I did play CJ and AD.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe.
I think I nailed it with the this is not the 888 day, and now if my lineup ends up winning it, I'm going to just...
No, this is what you do. You say, oh, well, you know what, let me just play if it was not, as long as I'm not playing the 888, I could screw around. And then you're supposed to put those in the 888.
I know, man, but look, I can't just deal with $7,000 being taken away from me every day. It's really upsetting. I mean, yeah. If you ask me since this break, I don't know how many top finishes I've had, but there's been an incredible number of good ones, and I just would like to have a little more to show for it. So I don't want to just give everything away today. But yeah, you're right though. I mean, I'm going to throw it into a little, let's see if I can there's not like a middling tournament exactly. Well, we don't really have anything to offer. That's what I like.
You think after all this, maybe Westbrook doesn't play?
No. I don't think. I mean, honestly, if you want to set the odds of Westbrook not playing, unless something happens pregame, he could actually injure it trying to get ready, It's possible with injuries. He's obviously been really injured. But I am playing Westbrook in my big FanDuel lineup. I can't resist myself. I love my FanDuel build. I just absolutely adore it. So I'm feeling very comfortable rolling that one out. I'm hoping it's not over the top chalky, and I don't think it's going to be. So I think I'm okay. I don't think Westbrook is going to be popular. Well, problem is on FanDuel he might be. Definitely won't be on DraftKings. I'll tell you that right now. I do have one lineup without him on there. All right, AD must play. No, but I like him. Obviously, not many power forwards on FanDuel. Some off-the-board plays. I think somebody said earlier. I'm going to take a quick look at the guys who I like the most, who I'm using. Oh, God, the slowness of this thing. Or low-owned plays. I like Vooch, as Sheets mentioned. I like DiVincenzo, as you guys asked about earlier, as an off-the-board, maybe gets lower ownership than Connaughton. Maybe not.
How much is Middleton going to be owned on DraftKings?
I like Connaughton. How much is Middleton going to be owned?
Yeah. 20, maybe?
No. Oh, on DraftKings?
Yeah.
Maybe 8, 5.
Okay. I'm going to move him up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that you got to try and get a lineup or two with him in there. DiVincenzo feels so weird to me. It feels like it makes sense, but I think I'd just rather play Connaughton, so I'm not going to touch the DiVincenzo thing. I'm actually oddly prioritizing. It feels wrong also to prioritize Caruso over him, though, but then at the same time, I don't want to play Connaughton and DiVincenzo with Bledsoe. So okay, I answered my own question. You don't really get that much of an uptick for anybody on the side here for Milwaukee. It's not that big of a boost. It's a little boost, but it's, these guys all are still going to play 20 to 25 minutes, with the exception of Bledsoe, Middleton, and Giannis. And on the Orlando side, I didn't end up playing Fultz on DraftKings, which I'm okay with taking a shot at fading. But I did. I sort of faded both those guys, but I did play Vooch, and it's just because I wanted to pay down for my guard spots. I kind of had to do that. Covington or Green? Covington's the better play. Green has been better, obviously, but I think Covington today is the better play, especially with Russ in. It should make it a little bit more of an open transition game where Jeff Green doesn't get to bring the ball up and play point forward as much. So I think Covington is the answer today. But they're both. I mean, it's close. You can go either way. If you're building multiple lineups, try and get one of each. And if you're playing 3, maybe play 2 Covington, 1 Jeff Green. That's how I would divide it. Pretty close.
It's very difficult to not play unless you play AD to not play both Green and Covington on FanDuel together, which is probably not optimal.
Green and Covington. Yeah. Well, so I'm playing Gary Clark.
Oh, okay.
That's what I decided to do, and that way it gets me the other things that I really wanted. And I get to play Schroeder as my shooting guard alongside McCollum instead of having to go down to the, pick a wild card guy.
Right.
But I do think that the more I think about it, if there was a wild card guy to play, the one with the most upside is Connaughton. He's already put up 40 in this series. Like we can expect something out of him for sure. Wow, after all this time on the NBA slate that I spent preparing today and all the things I was thinking about doing, I'm just off of it, man. I'm just completely off of it. Like I don't feel good enough to put a lineup out there that's going to be different enough. And you know what? I've won tournaments lately where I've done well in tournaments where I have done that, but I'm just not clicking that 80-88 button right now. I just can't bring myself to do it.
Yeah. So what we're doing, by the way, what we're doing in Sheets World is 50%. Sheets is playing 30 lineups, and 50% of them have Giannis and Vooch together. So.
I love that. Yeah, I'm into the Vooch thing the more and more I think about it, especially the situation of the game. I think he's also upside for his 37-minute projection, which sounds funny, but it's true. And also, he's got like one of the best point per dollar things in the slate because of the way the slate is organized. He's not going to have the ownership. I'm a little worried McCollum's over-owned, and if I was playing more lineups, I probably don't think I would have him in my main lineup on DraftKings. I definitely would on FanDuel, but I mean, look, he definitely has upside and there's room there, but it's not like this is a lock for him to score 50 plus. And by the way, Vooch could also score 60, and I know he's more expensive, but there's a lot of medium guys like who can get 30. Ross. You've got a guy who can get 45 or 50 like he's done in this series, and who's no one's going to play all of a sudden. And I liked initially was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I hate the way he plays down the stretch of games. Otherwise, he would have been my off the board play because I kept running into being able to use him. Everybody's going to play Gary Trent. I'm just saying on DraftKings, I really think it's a mistake. I really think that's a mistake. I could be wrong, but it's completely a mistake in my opinion.
You brought it up a little earlier. What was your take on Brook Lopez today?
I prefer Whiteside. I only preferred Whiteside because I was playing so many Milwaukee guys.
I mean, I played him last week, and I was bragging at the halftime when he had 24 fantasy points, and he ended up with 24 fantasy points.
That's the Brook Lopez special. That's what he does.
Yeah.
He gets played out of, just completely does nothing. And that's what happened to Shai Gilgeous. Shai had 44 fantasy points going into the fourth quarter the other day and ended with 44 and a half. And that was a tight game back and forth down the stretch that he played every minute of. Like, I couldn't believe that one. All right, so some other ones that stand out as being, I don't understand if people really aren't going to play Gary Clark at all. Go ahead, guys. I think he's I think everybody's shifting to this Milwaukee thing. Again, I'm just going to say I've seen the writing on the wall before with this. It can spread out. It doesn't need to be all Milwaukee. Maybe my lineup is a little more contrarian than I thought it was.
Yeah, I've got 40. What I ended up doing on FanDuel at power forward, I do have I actually am going to play I have 40% Clark, and I don't have Dave. I got rid of Davis. I have almost all Covington, and I have a couple of lineups with Nerlens Noel. Just for fun.
Yeah, I like it. Is it weird that the game that has the biggest spread, or I guess they're pretty close to it's the biggest spread, that's the game that we're targeting, or that I'm targeting, and it's not just it's not like it's the George Hill news. It's just the pricing doesn't feel right?
Yeah, I think it's 3-1, right?
Yeah.
I think everybody plays just a shitload of minutes. I don't know.
That's how I feel too. Whereas I don't feel that way about Anthony Davis. What's weird is that I don't think Anthony Davis is going to be very popular because of the way the slate's constructed.
Yeah, but how do you – I don't know. On FanDuel, I don't know how you don't – I mean, it's just power forward they're literally 4 players, right? Or 5.
No, on FanDuel he'll be popular. On DraftKings, maybe he won't be. Maybe he won't be, yeah.
Hey, so we talk about this this Alex Caruso play all the time. I mean, you don't like KCP at all today, or Danny Green?
Well, Caruso is the better play because he gets the ball in his hands more. Green and then just rely on just whether they're making shots. You could argue either way. I'm fine with it. I played a ton of Danny Green and KCP in the last game, and Caruso. Yeah, all the guards make sense to me. Caruso, it's weird. The thing I didn't like about it is they didn't play him the blowout minutes. I was sort of thinking if there was a blowout that he gets that extra run, but nope, they treated him like a starter, which actually makes me feel more encouraged about playing him today. And I hope people look at the game score and just, 21 minutes, only 13 fantasy points, he's only scored 11. Maybe we don't play him. Maybe we play DiVincenzo in this bump up spot. I think I'm going to go with Caruso instead. I think down the stretch of games, you're going to see more Caruso. The Lakers' best lineup all year has been with Caruso on the court. What if I play out 3 OKC guards, LOL? I think that you can try it. Like, it's actually better today than it's ever been because of the speed of the game, but I don't think that's optimal. And if you're doing that, you kind of have to play somebody from Houston, I think. I still prefer Harden's still a good play. Let's just see real quickly what we've got him projected at ownership-wise, because I know it's changing. I mean, if he's 40%, then he's a terrible play in my opinion. But if he's 15%, I would consider just going all in on him. If I was playing a bunch of lineups, which I'm not. All right, we're almost done here. Sheets, is there anything else before we get out of here? We already did a baseball show, guys. It's up on the YouTube channel. Go ahead, check it out. I think that if you're betting anything outright today, I really hope Houston wins, and that's the game I'm going to prioritize. I'm actually going to sit down and maybe have a beverage and watch it because I need to relax and enjoy some basketball without having so much money on the line and horrible stuff happening all the time.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'll tell you, before the sports came back, I was looking at all the coronavirus news and all the stuff and getting involved in not Twitter fights, but Twitter discussions about all this political crap. And I'll tell you, with sports back, I've just kind of gotten off of that other stuff, which is great. You know what I mean? It's so, I just, for the first time, I went back on, I looked at all this other COVID stuff, because I'm dealing with it right now. My son is allegedly going to UVA next week. We're still waiting to get the final word on it still.
Yeah.
They're looking for numbers to be better. And then we have the student council put in a demand for all online learning instead of in person. And then you have teachers protesting. So it's a lot of nasty, not to mention, all the stuff going on with the shootings, and it's rough out there. I'm really glad there's sports, man. I just am.
Yeah, me too, man. But not days like yesterday, but in general, I got you. But Brooklyn just asked real quick, so this is not a bump for Melo and Trent. No, there's the opportunity for a bump. There's also the opportunity for a slashing where you might need more offense. And Trent is not the guy who creates shots. He shoots open shots that Damian Lillard being on the court creates for him. So yes, he could have an outlier game because of the minutes, but that would have been true every game so far in the series. Carmelo can try and get the shots he wants. That makes it look more like a Laker blowout to me. I would try to side with more McCollum and Nurkic personally, but I don't mind either of them. I want to make that clear. I don't mind either of them. I just don't think they're these automatic plays, and they're getting 50+% ownership. Go ahead. But if they miss and you don't play them, you're already ahead of not 90, but you skip all those guys, you're ahead of a huge part of the field. So I'm not just sleeping on anything with McCollum. I know McCollum's game better than anybody. I don't think anybody knows CJ McCollum better than I do. So I'll say I'm sleeping on him. I love CJ McCollum in general. I think he's a great real-life basketball player. Somebody got into a huge Twitter fight once because I tried to defend CJ McCollum as so much better than – I would never want Trae Young on my team in real life, and I would always want CJ McCollum. I think he's a much better real-life player. But this is not this is the second-best defense in the NBA. You take Lillard off the court, it's going to be harder for them to score. I think it's going to be McCollum, Nurkic. That's where I'd go, but I don't think that it's this auto spot where they're locks for 60. I would just try and avoid ultra mega chalk on a 3-game slate against a good defense, personally.
I'm doing one last change to my FanDuel exposures. I had so much freaking voodoo on drafts that I just didn't want to be basically all in on him, and I was getting so much of him on FanDuel. I just want to just get off him a little bit, and whether it works or not is honestly going to depend on whether my screen freezes or not. Let's just see. So far, so good. Okay, I set a max 50% of him on FanDuel now, so that'll help. That'll help a little bit.
Yeah. I got to get off a little bit.
I know you're more into Nurkic, right?
Wait, was that?
You're more into.
Yeah. No, on FanDuel, I think I just play both of them. I mean, like Nurkic is a better play on FanDuel because everybody's going to play Vooch, I think.
Yeah, they are.
I think they're going to play Vooch, though. All right, last game.
It looks like I'm good. Let me give you my. I may as well just give you my. This could change up.
I'll read mine out too.
Yeah. So you can read yours because mine's still refreshing. So go ahead.
All right. So I've got on FanDuel in my big lineup, and I'm leaving. Okay, I'll read that one later. I don't have big ones on.
All right, I'll go first. Ready?
Okay, right.
So I'll just give my overall exposure. So at center, I have 50% Vooch, 17% Whiteside, 28% Nurkic, and a little sprinkle of Brook Lopez. The highest owned guy, I have McCollum locked in at shooting guard.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have 80% Giannis and 80% Chris Paul. Those are my two main. And then everybody else is 67% or less, which is not that bad.
Well, I didn't say that many, so I've got an easy one. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
I've got 100% Bledsoe, 100% Caruso, 100% Connaughton, 100%. Oh, I actually I did end up with 100% Fultz. I ended up with him.
FanDuel?
Yeah, on DraftKings. 50%. This is all DraftKings. 50% Davis, 50% McCollum, 50% Giannis, 50% Westbrook. On FanDuel, in my big lineup, I have Simons, Westbrook, McCollum, Schroeder, Giannis, House, Covington, Clark, and Nurkic.
Okay.
I like it, actually. I really like that lineup. Like I feel like Schroeder is going to have a monster game today. I really like him if Westbrook's in the lineup, and I love getting the two of them. They both increase the pace. They also have a little of that history together. There's a little bit of FU mentality there, and I love it. They won't put Schroeder on because they've got what's his name now. They don't need to put Schroeder on to Harden because they got Dort out there. It's a spot I'm really starting to like, and I think it really works out well on FanDuel. So I'm excited about the 333 on FanDuel because of that. I think it's a pretty good lineup.
How much Westbrook do you have? I have like zero Westbrook.
Nobody has Westbrook. I don't think. Well, I don't know. Maybe they will. By the time it comes around and they announce him in, and you see the projections, they'll probably get him in.
It's gonna. I have to see. I have to see how I'm doing in this Orlando game. That's what I'm gonna have to do.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it's like the lock of locks, but like, when do we watch Westbrook play a game where he's not a good value at 9,400?
That's a good point.
You know, and if he plays in a must-win playoff game, you don't think like it's like, oh no, we're just going to try and play him 20 minutes. No, this team they're playing for their GM. They're playing for everything out there. I mean, you could argue that the final answer at the end of the day may have been, why didn't we play Westbrook and Harden together and stack that game?
Yeah, no kidding. Huh?
And the defense is tough, but like that's the tightest game. That's the game you're gonna. I mean, both teams. Like, this is. Game 5 is the series determiner oftentimes. Interesting.
Then you get your Schroeder going.
Yeah. Brooklyn mentioned something interesting. Like he said, why would they move Nurkic from the 5 when he was crushing? I don't know what he's talking about. You mean bringing in Whiteside? Like, well, because the answer is easy. The answer is because their job is not to make sure Nurkic crushes. Their job is to win games. Nurkic crushed the Lakers in the last game and they lost by 50. Right. So I don't think that that's going to matter all that much personally. I also don't know what you mean about moving him exactly. It's the Lakers play two bigs. That's the reason why they're playing two bigs. But I think that we're pretty much done here, Sheets. Do we want to give a real hot baseball take real quick? I'm going Dodger stack tonight. That's where I'm at. That's what I'll say, I guess.
Yeah, but the you want the ultra hot baseball take? Fine. It's going to be fade DeGrom, and I'll give you one off the board pitcher play for those of you who haven't been watching. Hernandez from Miami. And as far as the stacks go, I do like the Dodgers, like you said, and my other one that maybe not that many people will play is Texas.
I like that. Sounds good. And I like the mid 8K pitchers on DraftKings. I'll say that part. All right, I think we're ready to get out of here. This has been good. Thanks for setting it up. Sorry we didn't get on QLTV. Guys, make sure you like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Brooklyn, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much to everybody, Jamie, John Diaz, everybody who showed up in the chat. We really appreciate it. And whether you're watching this now or later, good luck, and we will see you at the top of the leaderboards.
All right. See you later, guys.